Hi guys, I've literally just jumped off a call, well, a virtual online training workshop that I'm delivering. So it's the first of 5-week program that I'm delivering through work. I've done it many times before, but this is the first time I've delivered it in a virtual platform. So we did it through Zoom. Worked really well, and really pleased with it. So it's been extremely popular, as you can imagine, in the current climate with people working from home. Normally they'd be driving to an office and they'd have the luxury of some space there, whereas at home they're managing sometimes an even busier schedule of meetings, but in the context of their own home with partners, spouses and children and other family members sharing the same space often. So learning to how to manage their attention and where to place their attention, and building that mindfulness muscle that I keep harping on about is so crucial at this time. So the feedback we had at the end was just like, wow, this is just what we need. Couldn't have received this information at a better time. So one of the things that's really stuck out for me that I thought I've not really touched on in any of my recordings was this concept of the brain's inability to multitask. So if you're anything like me, who's a kind of a busy doing sort of person, I'm constantly working through a to-do list. I like to feel like I'm active and I'm doing things, which is fine. But when you fall into the trap, which often we do, of thinking that you can do several things simultaneously, we are really detracting from the quality of the things that we actually achieve, and we're really draining our brain. So we're draining the energy. So if you get to the end of the day and you're absolutely exhausted, chances are you've probably been multitasking, because most of us have trained our brains to multitask. So what happens is we think that we're doing things at the same time. So trying to write an email whilst listening out and trying to chat to the kids or speak to your husband. Again, maybe trying to pay attention to something that you're doing at work, and the phone beeps and you're checking the message. So you think that you're kind of multitasking, and this makes you feel good because you think, yeah, I'm getting lots of things done. In actual fact, what your brain's doing is switching. So it's switching between what you're doing and then and then paying attention to something else. But this happens at the subconscious level, so we're not aware that we're switching. And it really drains the brain, really drains our mental energy, which is why we can often feel depleted at the end of the day. So a method of overcoming that, which seems really straightforward, but again it's getting into a new way of being and doing, is to choose where you place your attention. So if it is, a really important email or a meeting that you have to be present for, then you pay attention to that. But if there is a distraction, so say a child walks in, or a spouse or somebody else wants your attention, then you can turn and choose to pay attention to them in that moment. Give them your full attention and be present with them, and then choose to go back and finish what you were doing before, rather than trying to have the conversation and pay attention to them and at the same time thinking about what you need to do with the email or whatever you were working on. Because the brain doesn't work like a computer. It can't manage those two things simultaneously. And what happens is you write something that doesn't make sense, or you're not present with the person in front of you, which is not great for them. It's not very satisfying for you either. It might take you longer to get to the solution that you need to get to. So if it's a problem that you need to work out with that person, or if it's, whatever they've come to you to ask you for, it might take you a lot longer to get to the end point if your attention's still being pulled in another direction. So I hope that makes sense. But it's just to sort of illustrate that multitasking is a myth. The brain cannot multitask, and when you accept that and realise, okay, I'm human, I can't multitask, and you choose to work with your human limitations, you can see things starting to work for you. So when you're present with somebody, not only does that make them feel hugely appreciated, it makes you feel good because you've had that good interaction. And imagine how important that is in the current climate. And then when you go and place your attention on your work, you can wholly place your focus there and sustain it there for longer. And that is where the practice comes in. So the mindfulness muscle that we're exercising with the daily practice allows us to, it strengthens that attention muscle and allows us to be aware. So as well as being focused and in the moment with our attention, allows that awareness of when we're not in the moment, when we're on autopilot, when we're not being present. So even more reasons to do your daily practice. So I'm not going to do a practice